is curiosity in particular so important today?
When we look at capabilities that really set people apart, curiosity and creativity and innovation are capabilities that if you've got them, they're really valuable to the workplace. And the reason they're really valuable for the workplace is that you're able to solve problems at speed and deal with complexity, because technology can and is rapidly replacing all of that routine skill and some of the non-routine skills. What people bring, or the human element that you bring, is that creativity. We're all born curious, like humans are born curious. That's how babies learn to walk and talk, and that's why it takes 2 hours to walk the length of a short street with a toddler. But compliance is really important. So as you work through the school system and even some of the work system, being compliant and following the way things are being done and not challenging the status quo was the way. So it's potential that it's been you haven't been rewarded for it, so you've dialed that right down to the point that maybe you've forgotten it, or maybe you were told growing up that you weren't creative and you believed that. It was quite prescriptive about what creativity is and isn't, whereas today the definition of that is a lot looser. Effectively, creativity is play. We all learn through play, so we've all got it in us somewhere. But we maybe haven't brought that out lately. But that's effectively what you bring back into the workplace. Some of the perceptions are around, well, if you're playing, you're not working, and we're paying people to work. So, we don't want too much play. We just want them to get in and work. But what we're learning now is there's our work and the world of work has changed. And so if people aren't playing within reason with their industry and context, then you're probably missing a bit of dollar return investment.
And I guess even the word would sometimes be a barrier for someone because it sounds so youthful or associated with children.
So yes, I've received a few funny looks, and I've received some pushback with that. What's really interesting though is that when you introduce it anyway, and people start to engage, play just comes naturally, and then the energy of the room changes. Whatever the purpose of that workshop or session is, it's much easier if the mood is light and you're playing and you're experimenting, because then you naturally see things from different perspective, or are willing to sort of put forward sort of a different idea. If people are very resistant to the creativity, or they have a belief that they're not creative, particularly if they're very rule orientated, or the organisational culture is very policy procedure, don't deviate from that, it can be really hard for people to sort of be creative and experiment for that. So giving them small elements that feel safe enough for them to take risks, and that'll be different for different people. But think of taking your policies and procedures and very fixed rules and putting it into a framework so that it's a bit looser. You still got the guardrails in that you need for the organisation with whatever those policy and procedure and systems that are serving, but there's a little bit more freedom for people to get the work done, get the outcome. Perhaps, some projects that are specifically where you're wanting them to do something a little bit differently from that, but a series of stepped activities helping them just play with what they perhaps had felt constrained to do would be a good start. Those paint and sip nights, that's a great example. You get the picture and you get the colour palette, and then someone sort of instructs you on what to do. People then, even in their language, it's like, did I get it right, or was it as good as the teachers? Well, creativity's not really about that. It's not about now replicate what I'm doing. It's like, oh, here's the concept, now iterate something. And I don't know if you've ever seen a photo of all the end results and how there's variables with them, but that's a really nice way of looking at, well, that was just people's take on a concept.
Is there a small sort of daily practice that someone could sort of do to foster some creativity, some curiosity in their everyday?
A lot of it is, a mindset around what's right and wrong, and what's the right approach and the wrong approach. Creativity sits in the grey, and there's freedom to sort of explore, and there's a connectedness with self. People are wanting to broaden their creativity. You can really look within. One of the ones that I really like is journaling, because journaling has multiple benefits for people and their development and their thinking. You can do some navel gazing around what's going on for you and why you think certain ways and how you approach things. Just anything that is mildly disruptive. I mean, you could do something simple if you're a morning walker, if that's how you like to start your day, and maybe you take different paths.
There is some worry that people get when they're saying, "Oh, I'm pausing to do this. What if I lose momentum, or is there going to be impact on my productivity?" What would you say to that?
It's like any investment or any change. You're not going to maintain the same momentum and rhythm. There's going to be a disruption, and so that will disrupt naturally. And whether it's sort of bringing creativity to your day or accessing development, it is going to be a little bit disruptive. But I guess you've got to decide as a leader around, are you invested in the short term or the long term, and how do you do a bit of both so that people can start to form new habits, new thinking patterns for the longer term gain.